Okay, so let's back it up here a little bit. So there are numbers. This is a number that a certain group of people who think they should rule the world uh, like, and they also really like 33. It's the 33 is the highest level Freemason, and so in Starfield, which was basically made for the WEF, Starfield is this game where they celebrate the like unlike I should say the 300th anniversary of 1776, a little bit unlike perhaps, maybe a little bit like, well, they celebrate instead the 100th or 1000th anniversary of 2030 in 20 or 300th anniversary. I don't know. They like that number in 333 or something like that. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. The point is, it was both the 100-year anniversary of 2030 and or the 300th anniversary, the 1000th. I think it was this number 2033, and it was also 33. Yeah, or it was 23. It was that number, I think. So it was not only the anniversary of. Didn't ask you to do that, cocksucker. It was not only the anniversary of 2030. It also had 33 in it, and also 23. So 23 is a bad number. Because I said so. 33 is also a bad number, and the 300th anniversary of 2030 is, yeah, it's demonic WEF fucking shit. So basically that's WEF. Yeah, Starfield was made for the WEF. So there's a little bit of ESG funded wokeism in it, and pronouns and things like that. Surface level. I mean, the amount of woke, the type of wokeism in it is as bland as the game. They didn't even go all the way with wokeism, but they have just enough to be cringy and bland and boring. And probably will never get into this game, but I have learned a lot about it from other people's content. The point being, yeah, that's very. So they like these numbers, and so I wanted to just pivot here really quick and to tell you about how they've been laying out this plan. Things don't always go according to plan, but these things have been planned for years, and by years I mean like hundreds of years. They pass it on to the next generation, and if you think that's kind of silly, uh, according to one investigative journalist, it was a mainstream establishment place, but I'm not so sure that it's false. Sometimes they do have some good reporters slip through the cracks. This right before 2020, when this would actually help Trump, the people who read and hate and say he's an orange man bad, hired a person to do investigative journalism, and what she uncovered is every president of America, every single one, was descended from slave masses. Every single one except for one, Orange Man himself. So interesting. It's almost like it's all one big family. And so yeah, if that was the case, it would be pretty easy to keep at least trying to hit your deadlines. All right. So you're going to hear about some new concepts that you've probably never heard before here. Basically, we have a timeline here. We have a few authors who tell you what's going to happen because they were in on the inner circle and they create fiction, which is basically a projection of what the elites want to do. And the first one is probably not the very first one, but the first one that we're talking about when it comes to these authors is 1984. And this was not written in 1984, I'm pretty sure. It was written way before that, about 1984. And the irony is, people think that 1984 is in the future, but no, 1984 was in 1984. It was projecting 1984. It was trying to predict 1984. It was the fiction for 1984. And it wasn't completely wrong. In fact, it got one thing dead straight on for the 1990s, and that's right before the 1990s. That is the never-ending wars. So it predicted a world of never-ending wars and big government. That's 2 checks right off the bat. They got 2 things right. And censorship. So 1984 was 1984 until the next thing. 1984, the book, we did live through that. It all happened, not exactly as the book goes, because it's fiction, but it's meant to predict and be kind of vague. And so basically what happened is from 1984 to the early 2000s, we had 1984. We aren't done with 1984. We're moving on from that. But some of the things will stay there, like never-ending wars. What happened to the colors? Where did everything go? God, I hate paint so much. All I did was click. So, the next date is, in fact, the 2000s. Come on, give me back the colors thing. I don't know where that went. What the heck was that? 2000 and, let's just say 2001. No reason whatsoever why we would pick 2001. Maybe in September, we'll see. Somewhere around the 11th. So in 2001, this is where like a new age is beginning. And then another one in 2020. And don't get me wrong, don't worry about it. We're going to get to it. Brave New World is actually still part of the same pipeline. So in 1984, they predicted the never-ending wars, the big state government, people in the psyops to a degree, and it was about the 1990s. It wasn't about the future. We have already lived through quite a lot of those media psyops, wrong think, and all those concepts. Yeah, we've lived that for the past 30 years. We've already done 1984, and we've already passed through Brave New World to a degree, and that's with the introduction with cell phone technology in the 2000s, and they're normalizing all the socialism, sex, have sex with everybody else, like things, soma, keep you addicted to your cell phone. A lot of those concepts, we're done with those as well, and we're moving forward. Mind you, we're gonna keep, sadly, a lot of these things from the past, and we're gonna go ahead and build on that and get more things from the future. So not only do we get Brave New World and 1984, we have the next thing, and that's 2020. So we had I don't know what book predicts 2020, but there's probably a few. And then we have the next event the event period scheduled roughly for 2030-ish. I'm just going to say 2030-ish, and then of course 2050-ish. These are the dates that elites like very much. They also like 2021 at one point in time. And why do they like 2021? Well, why do they like 2021 so much? They were off by 1 year. Yeah. So there's a lot of things to unpack here, but basically either it's just a quinkadink or they've been planning these things for quite a while. Because if you look at this here, we had 1984, we had 2001, we had the Brave New World, and Fahrenheit, the one where they burn the books. And we've moved on to the 2020 apocalypse, and now it's time for Project the opposite of the color yellow, lasers in sky, maybe. But what does this form as a pattern? Every 20 years, sometimes less, there is a significant event which quite quinkly allows the governments of the world to consolidate more money, more power, more fame, grow and get more control, take more freedoms, and get closer to being a singular it's not the NWO, it's the SBD. a singular bunch of dicks. So basically, what has been happening? Can we do controls here? Basically, what has been happening here is what I call, with this green font here, I can't write in paint. You gotta forgive me. This is like, can you read that? Yeah. So basically, that's what's been going on. So what we have is every 10 to 20 years is a new psyop. It's considered either an event. It's an event, basically a catastrophe, to either allow us to go into justify a new war or something else. Either way, whatever it is that is justified, there's so much more money to be made. And for some reason, it's mostly just the rich people making that money and the people making these plans and power, and there's so much consolidation. And not saying that every single time it's planned, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest they planned some of them. For example, in Pearl Harbor, before the war, America had no just reason to go to war, but the elites of America sure did dang want to go to war. They went to war in World War I. Why not World War II? I mean, we're not isolationists. We must go to war. We must wage war. Back with police. So what happened? Well, what did they do? Well, no, all of the blue someday, America was attacked by Japan, right? That's what you were told. That's what you were told. And what you were told growing up. What you were told growing up. Oh, we used the same mark. Was a big, fat lie. Basically, according to the government, unless they're lying about this too, which is kind of hard to tell, but they have declassified this. They started Pearl Harbor. It was an inside job. It was a false flag. It was a reason. So basically, according to the declassified FOIA request information, the elites of America, the president, specifically targeted and entered Japanese waters way before Pearl Harbor, entered Japanese waters, poked the Yaoguai Bear, sunk Japanese subs that had went to investigate Pearl Harbor without telling the Pearl Harborians and the people there, and basically aggroed Japan, and then sat back and waited, allowed them to attack, and then used it as an excuse to mobilize everyone in the government to invade and do World War II. That has been declassified. Not saying it's true, but it's probably more or less what happened. And that was, so World War I want you to think about what that war was called for a second. It was called the War to End All Wars. What happens when you have no more wars? What is that called? It's called peace. And what are these people always talking about? Yes, I want you to be afraid of that. I know it's counterintuitive because you've been conditioned to think that peace, is what you do. Everyone is going to be peace. But peace is not normal. Peace is not natural. Unity is across large groups is stupid. So world peace, they call it world peace. They say they're going to set up democracy and bring peace to the world, right? And that's what they originally started this whole plan. One of the first rounds of this plan, way after Babylon and the other ancient countries tried it, the same thing. They started it with world peace. They started with, this will be the last war, and then we'll all be one world government holding hands in peace. It didn't go the way quite that they wanted, and Germany ended up causing another war to get started. So they're like, okay, so we can't use a war to bring about a world government. So what we're going to do is do another war. We have to, because Germany started it. So we might as well finish the job. And Germany in 1930s, the Starmer Germany, the Weimar, they were very woke. And I do mean woke. All the things that we call woke now, they had those things. the gender ideology, the prostitution, the sexual immorality, the all the crazy degeneracy, excess immorality, nonsense, nincompoopery, colored hair, everything but like the color pink. They had it all. I'm joking. They probably had pink hair too. They were objectively, from our current perspective, woke in Weimar Germany. And the Germans got fucking tired of it. That and all the sanctions, they got fucking tired of. So when Hitler came around, they're like, anything's better than this. And in the end, the West was able to crunch their balls even tighter. And in the end, the West was able to turn them even more woke, arguably, possibly, than Weimar Germany. And they're completely cucked species now, the Germans, sadly. But, so that happened. And then we get to 1984, right? So every 20 years or so, there's a new psyop. And they convince everyone because they own the media. And they're still pretty good at convincing people now, even though it's spread out. I think, though, it's going to be impossible now to hold the message down. But in the past, it was possible for most generations. And so why people believe the moon landing quite easily was faked, whether or not it was is irrelevant. The reason why people believe it was faked is because, obviously people will believe anything and they'll stick to it, but there's a real good argument to be made how at that time the American government operated without any objections and told everyone what the truth was, official TM, the truth, with their media campaign of 3 companies, all in bed with the government, all working with the government to establish the narrative. And the narrative was whatever they wanted. And from there, that control point, they could leak out to all the other countries what the truth was. And so the Russians, if they didn't have a spaceship to go check out and say hi and, punk the astronauts on the moon, they had to just take their word for it. That being said, maybe that was a psyop, maybe it wasn't. Did it give them more power? If it gave them more power, you better damn believe it was a psyop. It's not just a coinkydink. If they got more money, power, fame, control, and took more of your rights away because of the 1970s lunar landings, or Japan, or China invading, whatever it is, you can be assured that either they're profiting off of this quinkydink or they created the quinkydink. And so every 10 or 20 years, you don't have to take my word for it. You just have to be older than like 5 years old to be able to fucking grasp this shit. Like in 1984, it was the 1984 book. Go read that. 2001 was the beginning of Brave New World. We've moved on from Brave New World, and they're skipping over or moving right past Fahrenheit. Well, they're moving right past all these other books, and we are going to 2030 and 2050. And I haven't written 2050 here, but let's just say that there's more here going. Stop recording me, PlayStation. Jeez. I'm already posting this. You'll get it when everyone else does. Okay, so basically, what we have here is every 20 years, there's a new psyop. And the thing is, I wouldn't be making this, I wouldn't be talking about this if there wasn't a significant chance that at least 50% of the psyops were planned. Okay, significant chance. Okay, so if you look at 2040, I'm not so sure about that one, but I'm going to say I'm about an 80% sure, not so sure, but like 80% sure the 2041 will be planned. Or maybe that one will be the one that's just a quinkydink, But then the 2031, I'm like 74% sure that one's planned. All right. Now for the 2021, I'm only 71% sure that was planned. And for the 2001 and the other ones, I'm only like 69% sure that those are planned. All right. So some of these might just be that they are in fact quinkydinks. Just hapful coincidence. Oh, look at this. Wow, we spent 50 years planning for a viral outbreak. Now look, there's a viral outbreak. Oh, wowie. It's the exact same viral outbreak we were planning for. oh shit, did we make the pokey wokey for it? Yeah. We didn't just make a jib jab for it, the cure, we also made it a pokey wokey, the M&M or a yeah for it now too. Oh boy. Oh wowie. What a quinkydink. I'm so glad we were planning for this thing that we thought might happen by itself all naturally. I'm so glad we are prepared. I'm so glad we, did the whole directed evolution thing back in 1965 in the University of North Carolina. Wow. Weren't we prepared for the future? And so, basically, in summary, it seems to be like every single one of these things that have happened, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence. I think the burden of proof is on you if you think it was an accident, just a coincidence. Because if you look at the market in 2008, how did the government or the Wall Street bros or whoever, how did they not, how was that an accident? Was it? Like there's movies straight up saying like maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but these movies and these stories they say it wasn't an accident. They say that basically these Wall Street bros got too greedy. Yeah, but come on, man. The Wall Street bros, come on, man. Nobody does fucking shit without the government's permission. If you sneeze in America or anywhere else on the world, like I bet you those Wall Street bros had the A-OK with their government bros, and they cut them in on the deal. But the government bros aren't going to go to jail. So the Wall Street bros are going to have to be the ones who bite the bullet. You'll be the fall boy. Speaking of which, if you have an LLC and you're going to fall, and you're tired of the government calling you a boy, I can't write that fast. I also can't draw big thick B's. You don't have to file that anymore because apparently, so the United States federal government hates small businesses. Obviously, if you don't believe me, live through the year 2020. Come back to me and let me know. Have a business in the year 2020, then come back to me and let me know how the American government likes you so much. Okay, so so what they were doing is they started calling all the small business owners boy, literally boy. They're like boy. All of our buddies with $5 million in profit a year or more, the big corporations we love, don't have to do nothing, but you, boy, you've got to file a boy, literally. And then a judge looked at it and said, fuck this shit, it's unconstitutional. And so you don't have to file that shit anymore. The point being, there's way too much information. And it's hard to tell sometimes what's true and what's not, but there is an overwhelming amount of evidence. And I'll just go over a few things. 1965, the University of North Carolina on a hill, there's directed evolution, which is where you take, let's just say there's a disease, a virus, inside a pig, okay? And you're like, oh, look at that. Pigs and humans rarely ever have sex. Pigs and humans rarely ever eat the same food. How could it ever jump to a human being? I'm a scientist. What if it was to jump to a human being? Yeah, it's never going to happen. But what if it was? Well, I guess what we should do is, I know what we should do. We should make it jump to a human being so that when it naturally jumps to a human being, we'll already have the cure. That makes sense, right? So what they did is they took, let's just say pig, they took the virus out of the pig and they made it a virus for human beings. Before, when it was in the pig, it was called influenza. Now, they started calling it the C virus. Where's the Resident Evil, intro? Cue the Resident Evil intro right here. Dude, I'd never thought that I would live to the day where Resident Evil became reality. But here, just look at the Resident Evil intro for 5 minutes real quick here. Let's look at Resident Evil 5 intro. Okay? the best Resident Evil, the only one really worth playing, like the Resident Evil, the best one, the Resident Evil 5. So the C virus, and I'm not going to say what C stands for. If you're older than 5 years old, you'll probably be able to figure it out. But it turns out when you take the influenza virus and you direct the evolution, aka you breed it to specifically target and attack human cells, you can create a version of the virus that goes after humans, and every single one of those viruses will now forever be called the C virus. It is entirely possible. In fact, I'm 74% sure that all C viruses, like the bear, were, in fact, they all come from the original C virus, which was created, engineered by human beings to specifically target human cells. In other words, they invented the Buzz Light virus. Okay? I'm not saying the word, you know what I'm talking about. They invented it in a lab by taking a virus that was targeting pigs or some shit and directing the evolution to target human beings on purpose. Why? So that they would be ahead of nature. And now they could create a cure. So then they started working on the cure right away. Gave it over to Pfizer and started working on the cure. That's more or less probably exactly what happened. So, yeah, okay, so that, fast forward, this is Jill Valentine, but that's not Resident Evil 5. Stable diffusion. Oh, fuck, I don't have enough time in my life. So basically, that's one thing, right? 1984, 2001. All I'm saying about 2001 is basically it looks from the outside so much like Pearl Harbor. Because what was it? It was used as a reason to go to war. And did Tower 7 fall because of airplanes? No. Something's going on. Something's going on here. Did you know that the towers were attacked by terrorists multiple times and thwarted by the government, but then their guard was down? Oh, what a coinkydink. And then in 2002, the CDC patented a C virus. Wow. You know that's illegal two different ways. Either you can't patent a C virus because it's naturally occurring in nature, the influenza in the pig, right? And that would mean it's a biological weapon. You're not allowed to patent something naturally occurring in nature. Or it's not a biological weapon. It's naturally occurring in nature. You're not allowed to patent something that's natural in nature. You're not allowed to patent pigs or their viruses. Or it's not naturally occurring. You directed the evolution, so you own it. You created something new, and then that would make it a biological weapon. So either way, those are both illegal in the world government police. One of them is a Geneva Convention atrocity of war, and the other is like against the patent office. And they declined the CDC's patent request like 15 times, and then finally they got through. Grease some spigot. They greased somebody's wheel, somebody's loop, somebody's tube got looped. Somebody's pipes got clean. The point being, was Kamala Harris there? So the point being, Kamala, such a fucking reptilian name. Such a fucking reptilian name. So like here, this video probably won't make it to YouTube. You'll probably get my whole channel deleted. So just Kamala. So basically, so go over to rumble.com/whatever this channel's name is, and I have so many channels, I don't know which one I'm gonna upload this to. So the point being, and then you can get the you might already be here. So the point being, the final thing is, so you got here, you've got, by 2002, the CDC patents the C virus. Okay, in 2003, a C virus, ooh, what a quinkydink, oopsie daisy, jumps out of someone's anus, somebody's bat's anus in Southeast Asia when I was living there. Okay, in 2003, it was called SARS, and then in 2015 another one, or somewhere around there, 2013 maybe it was, Middle East, MERS. 2020 was actually the third time a C virus, oopsie daisy, fucked a penguin. 2020 was the third time it happened. America got it late, like everything else in technology, and I do mean technology. And I mean, it's just the patterns here are so fucking damning for the elites. You've got their scientists in University of North Carolina and other places saying things like the C virus is poised for a sudden emergence. An accidental or intentional release seems imminent. Like straight from their papers. That is, if Dr. Martin isn't a cold stone liar. And you got the CDC patenting the technology. You've got Directive 51. You've got Dark Winter, Operation Dark Winter. Okay, so Operation Dark Winter. There's this game called The Division, okay? And Tom Clancy's The Division. No, Division 1. Division. So Tom Clancy's The Division. So Tom Clancy 2, right? There's a second Tom Clancy. We created with AI. They're gonna recreate people with AI supposedly. Anyways, the Division, Operation Dark Winter. So basically, you should just consider this game canon for our timeline. Yeah, I mean, do you know what it's about? So Operation Dark Winter. Do you remember when Biden was running for president, and then everybody loved him and went out in record numbers to his protests or his rallies, and everybody loved him, and he was like a populist leader, and everybody wanted to vote for him, and then he won overwhelmingly, totally legitimately, with like the majority. You remember when that happened? Okay, so I should have gotten your interest. The point is, all right, in the debate, so he was flubbing the whole time. Like, us, Herbert, stop it. Okay, man. Well, how about it? I got hairy legs. And, the cockroaches love my hairy legs. And corn pops, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And, I said, fire the prosecutor, I said, and they did. How about that? So this guy, basically, he said, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're going to get dark winter. He said, now, when he supposedly won, he said, this winter, 2021, is going to be like a dark winter for people who are right-wing MAGA who voted for Trump, or people, who don't kiss the dick of the government. And he used that phrase at least once, probably more than once, dark winter. Operation Dark Winter was a real thing that the government did. And in fact, I'm not going to go into it right here, but it's more or less summarized in the books and in the game. I think just the game, The Division. So Dark Winter is a scenario, essentially, I believe, where the government planned for an eventual outbreak. And it could have been just an honest, plan, because this might actually happen. But it could also be the other thing, a plan to make it happen. And so I think that that's a very interesting thing you should look into, Operation Dark Winter. It's mixed in with the front, the cover story, the video game, The Division, but it's also mixed into an actual thing that the CIA or the DOD or whatever was working on, Dark Winter. So that's a very important thing to remember, Dark Winter. We went through the Dark Winter. That was 2020 to 2024. It was the Dark Winter. Another important thing, the final thing I'm going to probably tell you here, is Directive 51. I'm not just throwing up everything up against the wall. If you actually look at these things and how closely tied they are to the freaking... It's crazy. So Directive 51, there are two, if I remember correctly. Hitler had a Directive 51 and Bush had a Directive 51. Now, I'm not saying Bush was Hitler or is Hitler, even though the Dems are saying that 10 and 20 years ago. But ultimately, Directive 51 in Nazi Germany was about giving the government like more power and shit. And Directive 51 in America, signed by Bush, literally gives the government power. In fact, it is a loophole to allow the executive branch to seize all power in an event of emergency. So Directive 51, Dark Winter, the University of North Carolina and Chapel Hill, all these things line up perfectly to fit into the 2030, 2021 timelines. And I mean, it's kind of like there's so many missing holes, but there still is so much already filled in to the point where I just call psyops, you know? So basically, that's all for this piece. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and tell me what you think is the next psyop, or maybe, you know, how I'm all wrong and it's all just a quink and things just happen to be quite nice for the elites. Every time something happens, it just always ends up nice for them. Oh, wowie. And the final thing before I close this off is follow. You know, just leave me a comment, subscribe or whatever, and go check out basically the last video, which was really important, about how similar topic about the UFO sightings and normalization, and then go check out this other channel. Give this guy some love. Not completely unrelated, because right here we have that right there, right? That right there, man. This this is it right here. This is well, I don't know what else to say. It's a good you know, for somebody who was born yesterday, this really spells it out quite nice. You know, it's like I just think that you should give me a hit that down button so many times it turns right back into an up button. I'm not allowed to give it a thumb up. I've already given it a thumb up twice. Dun. You know, FOBO is definitely real, but like, this is seriously fucking hilarious. 57 people watched it. 57 people thought it was fucking hilarious, but we're too lazy to push the up button, I'm guessing. No, I'll show you a little clip of it just real quick here. It's like very sketchy, but it's, you know, hilarious. It's like literally what happened, like word for word what happened, and it's just funny. So you got that guy and that guy talking, and then this person talking, and that person talking, and then oh, right. This right here, this is probably a fireable offense right here. But this is one of my favorite meme ads. I have to perfect the ad sometime. But it's absolutely savage. It's absolutely savage. Genocide. Brought to you by a Pfizer product. Genocide. Sponsored by Pfizer.